This case is about a fight between two parties over a construction project. The plaintiff, a construction company, sued the defendant, a property owner, for not paying the full amount owed for construction work. The heart of the problem was whether the defendant had valid reasons to withhold payment, claiming the work was not done properly. This essay will unpack the legal arguments, evidence, and the court's final decision. This case highlights the complexities of construction contracts and the importance of clear communication and documentation. Building projects often involve large sums of money and intricate details. When disagreements arise, the clarity of the contract and the strength of the evidence presented are crucial for a fair resolution. The court's role in such disputes is to carefully analyze the contract terms, evaluate the evidence provided by both sides, and apply the relevant laws to reach a just decision. This case serves as a valuable lesson for anyone involved in construction projects, emphasizing the need for detailed contracts, clear communication, and careful record-keeping to prevent and resolve disputes effectively. The plaintiff in this case was the construction company hired to build on the defendant's property. They claimed they completed the work as agreed and were owed the remaining balance on the contract. The defendant, however, refused to pay the full amount. They argued that the construction company didn't meet the standards outlined in their agreement, resulting in a breach of contract. The defendant claimed the unfinished and defective work negatively affected their property's value and usability. They presented evidence of these defects to support their decision to withhold payment. The plaintiff, however, argued that any issues were minor and did not justify withholding the full payment. This difference in perspective is a common feature of legal battles, where each party interprets the situation in their favor. The court's role is to cut through these subjective interpretations and arrive at an objective assessment based on the legal agreements and presented evidence. The judge acts as a neutral referee, ensuring a fair hearing for both parties and ultimately delivering a verdict based on the scales of justice. At the heart of this dispute was a construction contract. This legally binding document outlined the scope of the project, payment schedules, and each party's responsibilities. The plaintiff argued that they followed the contract's terms meticulously. They completed the work on time and according to the agreed-upon specifications. However, problems arose when the defendant began delaying payments, claiming dissatisfaction with certain aspects of the construction. These delays put a financial strain on the plaintiff, who had fulfilled their obligations as per the contract. The plaintiff asserted that the defendant was using minor imperfections as an excuse to hold back funds. Payment disputes are common in construction projects. The intricacies of building work often lead to disagreements about what constitutes completed work or adherence to agreed standards. A well-drafted contract that clearly defines these terms is crucial for avoiding such conflicts. In this case, the ambiguity surrounding the payment terms and the definition of completed work created fertile ground for disagreement. This ambiguity underscores the importance of meticulous contract drafting and the potential consequences of overlooking seemingly minor details. In an attempt to resolve the payment issues, both parties entered into a supplemental agreement. This new agreement adjusted the initial payment schedule and outlined a process for addressing the defendant's concerns about the construction work. The plaintiff agreed to make certain modifications to the project, and in return, the defendant agreed to release a portion of the withheld payments. However, this attempt at reconciliation did not fully resolve the conflict. The defendant remained dissatisfied, alleging that the plaintiff's modifications were inadequate and that other defects persisted. This ongoing dissatisfaction led to further delays in payments, pushing the dispute further into murky waters. The introduction of a supplemental agreement in this case highlights the dynamic nature of construction projects. Changes are common, and it's crucial to document them properly. The fact that even a revised agreement failed to prevent the dispute underscores the importance of clear communication, realistic expectations, and a strong spirit of cooperation. Section 5. Defendant's claims, defects in construction. The defendant centered their argument around the claim that the construction work was substandard. They alleged that the plaintiff had deviated from the agreed-upon plans and used inferior materials, resulting in various defects. These alleged defects ranged from minor cosmetic issues to more significant structural concerns. The defendant argued that these shortcomings devalued their property. They presented photographic evidence and expert testimony to support their claims, aiming to convince the court that the plaintiff had not held up their end of the bargain. The defendant's legal team argued that these breaches justified their withholding of payments. They believed the withheld funds were a reasonable response to the plaintiff's failure to deliver the expected quality of work. This aspect of the case underscores a crucial legal principle, the concept of substantial performance. While contracts require parties to fulfill their obligations, the law recognizes that minor deviations might occur in complex projects like construction. The question for the court often becomes whether the deviations are significant enough to constitute a breach of contract. Section 6. Plaintiff fights back, evidence and arguments. Faced with the defendant's allegations, the plaintiff mounted a vigorous defense. They argued that they had adhered to the contract's terms and that the defendant's complaints were exaggerated. The plaintiff presented their own set of evidence, including project plans, material invoices, and progress reports, to demonstrate their compliance with the agreed-upon specifications. They argued that the alleged defects were either non-existent or minor and did not justify withholding the full payment. In essence, the plaintiff claimed that they had substantially performed their obligations under the contract. They also presented evidence to show that they had addressed all concerns raised by the defendant in a timely and professional manner. The plaintiff's legal team emphasized the importance of good faith in contractual relationships. They argued that the defendant was exploiting minor issues to avoid paying the agreed-upon amount for work that was, in essence, completed satisfactorily. The plaintiff requested the court to award them the remaining balance on the contract, along with interest and legal fees. Section 7. The court's decision, weighing the evidence. The court's role in this case was to act as a neutral arbiter, carefully considering the arguments and evidence presented by both sides. The judge reviewed the initial contract, the supplemental agreement, photographic evidence of the alleged defects, expert testimonies, and the testimonies of both the plaintiff and the defendant. After a thorough examination of all materials, the court ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The judge found that the defendant had failed to provide sufficient evidence to support their claims of substantial defects in the construction work. The court also found that the plaintiff had demonstrated substantial performance of their contractual obligations, having addressed the minor issues raised by the defendant appropriately. The court ordered the defendant to pay the plaintiff the remaining balance on the contract, along with interest for the delayed payments. While the court acknowledged the defendant's right to raise concerns about the work, it emphasized that withholding payments should be a last resort, used only when there are significant breaches of contract. Section 8. The importance of clear contracts in court. This case highlights the crucial role of clear and comprehensive contracts in construction projects. A well-drafted contract that clearly outlines the scope of work, payment schedules, and procedures for addressing disputes can prevent misunderstandings and costly legal battles. Both parties should ensure they understand and agree to all the terms and conditions before commencing work. Detailed documentation, including plans, specifications, change orders, and progress reports, is also essential. Such documentation provides a clear record of decisions made, work completed, and payments made, which can be invaluable in resolving disputes. Regular communication between parties can prevent minor issues from escalating into major conflict. Section 9. Lessons learned protecting yourself in business. This case offers valuable lessons for anyone involved in construction projects. For contractors, it emphasizes the importance of meticulous record keeping, clear communication with clients, and a thorough understanding of contract law. Ensuring that all agreements are in writing and that all changes to the scope of work are documented can prevent costly misunderstandings down the line. For property owners, the case highlights the importance of carefully selecting reputable contractors, maintaining open communication throughout the project, and addressing concerns promptly and professionally. Understanding the terms of the contract and the legal implications of withholding payments is crucial. Section 10. Conclusion Justice and the Construction Industry. This case demonstrates the complexities of construction law and the importance of fairness and accountability in contractual agreements. The court's decision, based on a thorough examination of the evidence, underscores the principle that parties must adhere to the terms of their contracts and act in good faith. Clear contracts, meticulous record-keeping, and open communication are the cornerstones of successful construction projects. Understanding these elements and prioritizing fairness in all dealings can help prevent disputes and ensure that justice prevails when conflicts arise.